Welcome everyone. It is 1 o'clock on the West Coast. It is HugNation time all over the world. If you are listening on archive, well then, as you hit play, you are releasing this energy into your world and joining it just as if you were listening to it live. One of the neat things about the web is that, this asynchronous conversations where you post something and someone reads it, it's like, it literally is a stream as you're reading people's, Facebook streams or Twitter streams, and it's kind of like as you contribute, as you say something, you're throwing a bottle with your energy into the stream, and then when someone reads it, they open it, unplug, and release that. And so when we do that here, we're making a massive bottle of just big positive energy, and then when you open it, you release it into your world. So let's just take a second, start the day, start our gathering with a little grace, little moment of gratitude. Thank you, universe, for all of our blessings. Help us to see the miracle in every moment. Help us to be aware of the gifts that surround us. Help us to focus on the half full glass. Help us be vessels of love in the world and bring joy to our hearts and the world. Amen. Welcome. It has been an amazing couple weeks, months, years, decades. Look in the chat room, see Millie just popped in. Wonderful. I also see Allie and Brian and Raven and Esta and Safira. And Keith was here. Welcome, everyone. Sorry if I don't get everyone's names. I'm a terrible reader. Carpo, too. Woohoo! So, one thing that's huge on my mind right now is this weekend's outing to the Help the Homeless, our first Saturday outing. And I've talked about it before here, and I'll probably talk about it again. And before sitting down here, I realized that in some ways, I want to talk with the other guys that are involved with it and figure out how comfortable everyone is with it being an overlap with HugNation, because to me, the more I'm doing it, the more it's making HugNation concrete for me. In fact, I'm finding like a convergence of all these energetic efforts in my life kind of converging. One of the things that I came to as like a mantra or something to come back to in my last coaching session was, am I coming from a place of service? And it's amazing how that that can govern the way that like for where I'm at right now in my life is I'm trying to chip away at the ego elements so that I'm not doing things from a place of making, building myself up. It's more building the whole up or becoming more connected to the whole. And so sometimes I'll find myself joining a conversation or adding something to a discussion or bringing something up or saying something. And in retrospect, I'll be like, oh, that was not spoken from a place of service and helping or contributing. That was spoken from a place of pride or trying to gain respect or manipulate or affect the way people see me in a positive way. The reality is, how often does that really work? I mean, how often when you try to like name drop or brag, do people go, oh, wow, he sat next to De Niro in a restaurant. But what's also very cool is that I'm finding that it's almost like the less effort placed into trying to get attention, the more people listen. So that's a whole other thing. So as far as the coming into congruence and the service, so the things that I'm spending a lot of energy on now is HugNation, is writing, and now this Help the Homeless project. And if you weren't there or haven't seen the video or whatever, so a couple months ago on Valentine's Day, a friend just called me and said, hey, I'm out in front of Costco. I just filled basically spent 150 bucks on stuff, granola bars and toothbrushes and stuff, and I'm gonna head downtown and hand it out to the homeless if you want to help me. And it was a guy that I'd recently connected with, from a very different, on paper, religious background or faith, but the more we've been talking lately, the more we realize that we overlap very much. And so I said, it was almost like an angel, because this is something that I've never done in my 38 years, almost 39 years on the planet. I've never worked a soup kitchen, done anything like that. But I have been thinking more about service. I have been thinking more about this idea of gifting as a core part of my spiritual practice. And part of that is opening up what gifting means. It's not so much doing more gifting, it's more putting the definition of gifting onto all of my actions, so that, I'll get back to that if I can make it make sense. So we went down there. It was an incredible experience. We learned a lot, took the Hugmobile down, and it was this surreal, beautiful thing. And we decided immediately we'd want to do it again. And so we did it next first Saturday. And then we did it this last weekend. It was the next first Saturday. And there's something about the experience that we talked about before we went down that to me is really critical about it. It's critical for me, the way that I experience it. And I'm sorry, I keep saying me, I, because, I guess part of that is an insecurity. I don't feel comfortable speaking on behalf of anyone else. All I know is that I'm speaking from my place on my journey in this moment. And the fact that I'm so very happy right now, is why I feel comfortable sharing it. But, your results may vary. And so before we went downtown, and we talked about how our objective in going to the homeless was not coming from a place of guilt. It was not coming from a place of fixing people. Not coming from a place of, oh, these poor people. We have so much, they have so little. It's so sad, because that feels yucky. And that's the reason why I've never wanted to do service. That's the reason why I've never wanted to do charity, because it feels like something that you have to do to be fair, to like ease your guilt, to allow you to, if you want to enjoy your Nintendo, then every once in a while you've got to give $1 to the homeless, because otherwise you feel guilty for all the things that you have. And so, over the years I'm starting to realize that's not, damn you, focus. Okay, that intellectually, and philosophically, I think that is the best way to ruin and make your efforts worth nothing. If you are giving charity from a negative space, then you are sharing your negative stuff. In the same way that when you buy something, even if you pay a bill, I think it's critical to say, sweet, another month of electricity. Awesome, I love having electricity. I'm gonna willfully and happily contribute this amount of money so that I can have that. I haven't yet sent in my taxes check because I'm still working on that positive thought before I send it in. It's a little bit easier, the sum that are required to keep the electricity on is a little bit less than my check I need to send in for taxes, so I'm working on it. But it is so important because energy is money. Money is energy. It represents time. It's just a symbolic way to exchange things around the world. So if you are giving people energy that you feel bad about, you don't want to give, it's like it taints the exchange. And the same is true if you're trying to do good from a bad place. For years I've talked about kind of inner activism, or that the most important, or the most impactful thing you can do as far as changing the world is not, collecting cans or recycling or anything like that. It's actually, finding working on yourself and your mind and your heart. And I feel like even though that is I've been preaching that, and I've been philosophically thinking that, I feel like in the last few months it has been it's been there, like clear. I wrote something about faith and having faith, you know, that if I work on myself, that the only thing I have control of on this planet is myself. And so if I can get clear, then the way that I interact with the world will be a positive one, without knowing how that is. And that's the faith. Is like the frontal lobe that thinks it understands what's right for me is so clouded with socialized ideas. You know, it's that clouding that creates the vision that you know, the tyrants put together. They think they're going to fix the world, and so they make it happen. So my frontal lobe has another vision of what's best, and it's obvious. Of course, everyone's worldview is the obvious right answer, but if I let go of trying to make things happen and instead try to make myself right and then do what feels right next, then when someone calls us, hey, you want to go downtown? It's like, yeah. And then it's like, it just becomes, I'm finding that this float more, steer less is, once I said that's what I'm going to do this decade, the stream is moving so fast and so powerful and so much more beautiful than I ever really gave it credit for, or really believed even as I was saying it. So before we go downtown, we're very clear about no judgment, you know? Even if they have judgment on themselves, you know, we're not joining them in their story of hard times or bad luck, I'm sure. But who are we to judge if that's the right thing for you? If you've seen, I haven't read the book, but I read or I watched the movie of Conversations with God. And the author goes through some very tough times and gets some very tough breaks. But that's what he needed to chip away at his story, and so that he could be receptive to, you know, what he needed to be receptive to really find his joy. And so who are we to say that you shouldn't be living on the street right now? Who are we to say you shouldn't be experiencing this, or that it's good or bad? So all my objective is in these outings is simply being kind, being compassionate, feeling connection, being present with other people that because of societal stuff, there's a wall between us. I've bought into the societal stories about homeless, you know, and you know, these people that have fallen in the cracks, and you know, I do the things that I need to do so I don't feel guilty, you know, look them in the eye, maybe give money here and there. But for this experience, I really wanted to, for myself, and you know, invite the other people that are participating to make it about that, about just in this moment, let's break down that wall, let's just be present. And all that really we have is this present moment. So in this present moment, nothing is lacking. Even if you were hungry 20 minutes ago, you now have a sandwich in your hand, you know, you now have a gift in your hand from a stranger. Take the story out of it, and that is a joyous place to be. Being fed and gifted by a stranger who loves you. That's it. That's it. That's the experience, you know? That's the present moment. And when we sink to that place, you know, when we sit with brothers and sisters in that place, then the story is kind of like settle behind. Then the too bads and the sorries and the oh so sads, it's like, I didn't feel that way at all. Sometimes people try to tell their story. Sometimes, I mean, that's their prerogative if they wanted to, you know, if they... For me, it was important, though, to not join them in their story. You know, to respond with, you know, more encouragement or positive, or focusing on this current situation of like, well, you know, hopefully the sandwich fills your belly, something like that. It was, we ended up seeing a very diverse type of people. There was people who were clearly challenged, probably mentally, and so the idea of them functioning in a you know in the normal life is pretty minimal. They might make it an institution, but either because of drug problems, addictions, or just mental illness, or sometimes even maybe low intelligence. It seemed like that they just were not equipped, and so there was a certain population that seems to be, they are street people, they are homeless, but there was a lot of other people that seemed to be in transition. There was a guy who had recently, been a victim of theft and didn't have anything to fall back on, and so was in the street and had no clothes and had no nothing. And so he was, man, one of my favorite times in the day was when Ted, who donated a bunch of his clothes. He's a kind of a larger guy, which is great because a lot of the clothes we had, there wasn't as many large clothes, and and he had a bunch of like brand new cool tennis shoes, and like 5 pairs. And so I'm like, hey, does anyone wear a size 11? And this guy who'd just been robbed was like, oh, I do. And so I hand him this pair of like brand new shoes, and the look on his face, like that he was getting something of value, that it was, I mean, it wasn't like he went crazy, but there's just this kind of eye-opening feeling of like, oh wow, this is a really nice thing they're giving me. And I don't know, it was awesome. Then there was other people, like there was a couple there that to be honest, I played some favoritism, and I pulled them aside and said, hey, could you use, a blanket, because I've got an old sleeping bag in here, and hey, could you use a pillow? And because there was, it's a young couple, the woman was pregnant, and apparently they've been doing like a week in a hotel and a week on the street, trying to make things stretch and trying to just get back on their feet, which is awesome. And as I said before, that's not our goal is not rehabilitation. There's awesome programs that do that, and support them 100%. Our goal was simply to gift a moment of love, be in a place of service, and selfishly sink into that place of love. I mean, that's the part that is like kind of been mind-blowing for me, is that the experience, like my whole life I thought of charity and service as this balancing out. You're allowed to feel joy if you do this every once in a while. And so if I didn't have to, no one was going to make me, or there was nobody keeping tabs, then I felt like, oh, well, maybe it was, if I don't have to pay the price, then I'm not going to. But recently, when you take away a few things, when you take away the guilt, the obligation, and the expectation, when you take away the feeling like this is supposed to help, because then when you look at the world and you realize, I give $1 to that guy every week, and he's still there, still drunk, it was like, oh, well, well, sure, that's frustrating. But if you're just saying, hey, in the moment that I'm giving him this $1, he's happier, I don't know, let's say, then no expectations, or even take away the happiness. Just like, oh, I'm happy to spread this a little bit. I don't even care if he spits on me afterwards. Well, that's probably a poor example, because nobody wants to be spit on. The point is, when we let go of the expectation of it, it's the giving that feels good. It is the gift. I think it was even Esther that said, afterwards, like, thanks for the opportunity to do this. Like, not thank you for giving me anything, thank you for putting together an opportunity for me to give. That's one of the things that, and that's why I'm saying that things are kind of converging, because really one of the focuses of the Burning Man camp that I've been working on is the Pink Heart, which there are Pink Hearters in here, I think, is that idea of this joyful gifting and almost trying to take the lessons of gifting that have enhanced our lives so much and pass those on. It comes back to me from a place of it's a reminder of connection and a reminder of the one. You know, if I feel like, I mean, there's the feeling of like, oh, if anyone is suffering, I am suffering. But there's also the feeling like if anyone is smiling, then I am smiling. And to me, that's a lot easier way to look at it. Oh, damn you, focus. All right. Already 1:20, my goodness. Ananda says, unconditional love has no agenda. Exactly right. And that's I think what, if the objective is merely to increase the love in the world, in the universe, then you can't tell where it's going to manifest. When we take the bus down there and we start handing things out and smiling and trying to give things away and doing what we think would be something that would make somebody's life better, that act by itself is increasing the love in the world. It may not resurface with the person who just got that t-shirt going, thank you, you're the best, make you feel good. It may not. But you can know as you're doing it that you are a part of that force. You are part of that momentum. You are part of that cosmic flow in the direction of more love. I can't tell you how comforting it is to know that I have no idea where I'm headed in the world or my life plan or my objectives or my career. But I know that this effort and time is right. It just like resonates through my body. Like if I ask that place, am I coming from a place of service? Yes. Then that action is good. And then whatever happens from that is good. I don't have to pay attention more than that. I don't have to plot it. I don't have to, I can allow the universe to steer, because the universe has established. This is the one thing that, in terms of the belief buffet, that is, for me, is not debatable, is that there is a energetic flow to the universe, and it is in the direction of love. Okay. If we disagree on that, then I'm a lunatic, and you won't be able to understand me. You can attach other names to it. It could be bigger than that for you. It could, it can look in a different way, or have more arms or tusks or whatever. But if that's the only thing I really know exists, and everything else is craziness within that, then if I can just find ways to strip down and float and feel the pull in directions like that, I don't know. I'm getting more and more evidence that's where my faith should be and where my faith is. In many cases, you help yourself by helping others, and that's exactly it. It's that awareness that truly being selfish, like if you really don't care about anybody else, then you're only servicing a very narrow part of who you are. But allowing yourself to be, I mean, it goes, when I talked about it, months ago, when I after a day of helping a bunch of friends, I was like, wow, I'm so happy. Why am I so happy? I didn't do anything today. And then this has kind of been snowballing into these feelings of like, if I have the opportunity to do something from a gifting place, and that can even be something that you could be paid for it and still think of it as a gift. If you are gifting, if you are enhancing someone else's experience, if you are giving that without expectation, I think it can really change it. Esther said, it's talk about being able to live in gratitude. And that's part of it too, is having the opportunity to give these things. All right, now I'm rambling a bit, so maybe we should just, there was something that I wanted to read from Grandpa Caleb. Let's see if I have it here. One moment. He wrote this in 2002. The world is full of inexpressible feelings, yearnings, libido longings, and a great deal of creature guilt. Why have I been so blessed? Here I say again, the heart has reasons that the mind does not recognize. The clothing of our culture, education, and molding of our minds in the spatial area in which we operate creates for me inexpressible wonder, responsibility, and a desire to grow my soul in loving, caring, and Christ-like activity. What a wonderful world. And then 5 years later he said, I am so aware at this point in my human journey that I feel something deep inside that says whatever time you have left, give yourself to loving people and helping people. You know, I think that my teenage self, if they would have listened to me right now, would have thought that I was pretty out there. So I wonder what the uses of saying all this stuff out loud, because I think you just need to be, it's more about the timing of when these things hit you, but maybe I'm recording this for myself. Kat, you're talking about having the struggling to have the resources to help, and that's, you know, that's a huge issue. You know, one of the things is to, thank you, Carpo. You know, it's about trying to figure out what you have to gift also. You know, that there's, and sometimes your role, and that's why it goes back to being selfishness. If all you can do is take care of yourself and calm your frustrations and process your anxiety and steer yourself to loving thoughts, and if that is all the excess energy you have, uh-oh, what happened? Hello? Connection failed. Not sure if you guys can see this. Start broadcast. Bop, 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 bop. Is it working now? I think I'm off still. Oh, okay, I'm back. I think I'm back. Oops. I think I'm back. I'm back. Ah, sorry about that. Let's do this. So what I was saying was that, you know, keep in mind that you are a part of the whole. So your service can be, that's the whole thing that I'm trying to now process, is that there are times that seem from the outside as selfish. as you spend time with yourself, as you work on yourself, as you find your peace, as you cut things out of your life, as you add things to your life, as you steer yourself to positive thoughts, as you listen to great teachers, as you find that peace in yourself, whatever it is, the more you strip away of the socialized crap that isn't you, and the more you find who you are, the more you get rid of the anxiety that's caused by that emotional, psychological identity dissonance, the more you can strip away to just clarity. That is service. That is charity, because you are part of the whole. And so if you are working on yourself, you are doing a service to everyone. You don't have to be at a soup kitchen, because what will happen is, I believe, what happened to me, that when you get clear and clear and clear, next thing you know, you're just helping people. Not from guilt, because it's the extension. It's the way the heart wants to go. It's the way you are flowing. You cannot help it once you get rid of the crap. There are people that try to make you feel bad for spending time. There are people that try to guilt you into doing other things. I hope you don't feel that way as you are listening here. That it is... I've definitely taken my share of jabs for being selfish, for being narcissistic, for being self-centered. I still do. But part of that process has been because recognizing that the only thing I really have any control over is myself. The only thing, even if someone, in any interaction between two people, the only thing you can control is the way you think about that person. So either I accept what they're doing, or I figure out how my attitudes are being stirred up by what they're doing, or what they're doing is not something that I am ready to have in my life, and so I need to excuse myself from it. But if you start thinking about changing that, and that process seems like a selfish act, but I'm arguing it is not a selfish act. I'm arguing that it is your homework given to you by the universe so that you can come back to the whole, and we're on a need-to-know basis. And your role is to get clear and let go and trust and surrender and but you can't do that until you do the work. Sorry, I'm a little, clearly this has been it's been an exciting year. I feel like a different person. I look like a different person. I think people that know me think I sound like a different person, which is weird because I totally like the old person. But this new person feels, it feels like it's less me and more just truth, if that makes sense. Not my truth, not like I get truth, but it's less my agenda and more letting ideas and thoughts flow through me that I read other places or just feel or whatever, things like that. And so it's like I like this new person, but I don't feel responsible for them. I don't feel like I take any credit for it. Not saying that I've achieved anything. I think my path is underway. We'll say that. All right, sorry. I'm all over the place today, and I appreciate your patience. I'm trying to be a little bit less apologetic as well. I found myself apologizing a lot, and working on my confidence in presenting what comes out and whatever that may be. There's as I've been writing lately, it's been really interesting because sometimes I'll spend a few hours writing this stuff, and as it comes down, I'm reading through it, and I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if this makes sense to other people, and then by the comments I get, I'm like, oh, awesome, like, and it almost feels like, I don't, not that it's channeling, but like, well, in an artistic way, like I'm allowing things to flow through. Just be present. That's it. Somebody wrote me today that was going through a breakup, and they were like, can you give me some advice on what I'm just really having a hard time. And I was like, well, what Dimitri told me when I was in a totally different situation, but he says, nothing is lacking in the present moment. You're perfect. Everything is perfect in this moment. Like even the people that we dealt with on the street, in whatever the story is in the present moment, there was nothing lacking. If there was, we would have helped out, If there was rain, we would have put a poncho over it, If there was a grumbling tummy, we had food. If there was a fight, we would have pulled them apart. But in that moment, there was only perfect, everything's wonderful, and then stories. And so you can take the story wherever you want. Okay. Whew. All right. Let's, I think, because this thing crashed, I think it didn't stop the archiving, didn't it? Oh no, it is archiving. Cool. Well, welcome, archive people. Another thing that I realized as I watch some of these archives, I have a lot of sympathy for people like Russ, what's his name? Or like the talk show people that, they'll get caught saying something offensive. I'm like, dude, they do that every day, just filling time for hours a day, and they're trying to be controversial, and every once in a while they say something that gets them in trouble. Heather's story about the person she met. It's 1:30. Oh my goodness, sorry, I have been talking for a long time. Let's do HugNation. Well, let's have a hug, and then we can return to all these thoughts and ideas. Before I go into HugNation, I'll keep talking because that's what I tend to do. And I mentioned that things are converging, and to me, this first Saturday experience, in a lot of ways, is making HugNation make more sense to me. And it's making my grandpa's influence in my life stronger. Like, I feel it's almost like this is the natural progression of it all. Not that it's the one, it's the destination of it all, but this activity is it just feels so much like the progression of HugNation, which is that feeling of oneness, that that recognition that whatever your story is, whatever your ego is not who you are, and that in that moment we connect on that heart divine seed basis. And that, I think, is exactly why the first Saturdays has been so special, is because that's how we're trying to interact, is not on a my story to your story, I am so rich, you are so poor, but just like I'm person, you're person, and then that term that I'm falling in love with, material osmosis. It's not an active, I'm helping you. It's just, let's let it flow, just kind of balance out a little bit. Yes, I'm shifting gears. That's... But, so let's take a moment for a hug, mate. Let's take a moment and have a HugNation hug. So grab yourself by the shoulders. Feel that physical shell that holds you together, keeps your guts in, holds your brain, allows you all the stimulus and sensation to fill your head with memories and expectations and worry and wonder and all that stuff. And then know that all of that thoughts exists within a set of filters, and that beneath all those filters that say what you should do and shouldn't do and you're supposed to do, and your identity and your ego and your embarrassments and your fears, beneath all of those filter stuff is just this radiant, loving energy, light, flow. Esther said, many candles, one flame. Alan Watts talks about thinking of a ball surrounding this divine light, and there's a billion pinholes in the ball, and each pinhole is one of us just allowing through the divine light. And so as you squeeze your body, this shell is your little pinhole. And so as we greet other people, and their stories might make us feel fear or sadness or worry, but we know that deep down, they are an expression of divine light. And all our job is to recognize that in them. Maybe not even out loud. Maybe it just means that all we do is smile and not really believe the story they tell us about who they are, because we know who they are. They're exactly like us. They're a divine seed. They are a brother and sister. And so in this moment, once a week, we just take a second and just sit and embrace with all of those divine seeds, all cells in one massive, cosmic, beautiful love organism. As we strip away the filters and gunk that clouds our fire, we are doing service to the whole. We are healing our cell so that the one organism is more healthy and loving. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. I love you.
You only live once. Enjoy the color.